focusing on these milestones of 2024 because we're really at quite a pivotal moment of the year. For those of you that have been tracking the markets today, I don't know if you had a little freak out moment like me. It seemed that at 2 p.m., which would be 12 p.m. at GMT time, everything collapsed by 10%. What I'm getting to understand is that the highs of 2024, which I think led Bitcoin into about a 45K threshold, there was a little bit of drawback, and the ETF now may not be getting greenlit on the 10th of January. So the date that we have currently in the calendar for our next space, which is next Wednesday, is the actual day that the first Bitcoin ETF was supposed to be greenlit. But now we're hearing from the SEC, trust the SEC to just throw another spanner in the works for us. We're hearing that potentially that might not be going ahead. So this is a thing, guys. You never really quite know what's going on in this space. Let's be honest. There's always going to be something that changes last minute. So the one thing that we want to create with these spaces is just an open discourse for people to join and share their insights for the year. Because the one thing that we can do is, as a community, we have strength, and we can kind of we can kind of deal with these scenarios as they unfold. So what I had decided to do for the opening of this space, guys, and please, like I mentioned, if you want to join the conversation, if you want to drop and share some alpha surrounding the current ETFs that are going into, which I will come back to in a moment, we're really going to be going over some of these huge market milestones that 2024 has to offer. But before I do that, guys, okay, so it was 15 years ago today that the very first Genesis block was mined and created, of course, the favorite cryptocurrency. Well, I would say the biggest, longest standing cryptocurrency, certainly in my portfolio, would be Bitcoin. So guys, I want to get a thumbs up from you guys. Who is holding Bitcoin? And if you're not, I'm a little bit worried. Why are you not holding Bitcoin? But who's holding Bitcoin right now? Can I get a thumbs up from everybody, or a heart if you're holding Bitcoin? Oh, no one's taking part. I can't see actually any hearts or thumbs going up here, so I'm a little bit worried about you guys. But no, all jokes aside, what I decided to do was actually have 40. Oh, there we go, Mr. Juan. You saved me. You saved me there, man. And at the end of the day, I know a lot of you guys are holding backs. I think as an ecosystem, everything that we do is obviously taking into account this whole progression of 2024, potentially leading us into the next bull run. And for those of you that have caught our spaces in the previous weeks, what we're seeing is these 4 to 8 year cycles. So they of course are correlated to the stock market in many ways, and the further correlation that we're seeing is that every single blockchain and pretty much all of the altcoins out there are also correlating to Bitcoin. So for those of you that have been tracking the markets today, you saw that huge decline from $45,000 this is down to about $40,000 and you don't see that kind of movement in about 30 minutes. And then what happened is it corrected. So what we would like to do is invite someone up onto this space that potentially has a little bit more insights into the current market conditions. And this is what we wanted to warn you guys about. And I did definitely warn you guys, quite a few times in the previous space 2 weeks ago, is that bear in mind during and coming into this Bitcoin halving period, it could well trigger the next bull run, but also be very careful because the volatility around these times of year is always at its highest. So before I go any further, what I would like to do is go into some of these interesting Bitcoin facts that I'm sure many of you know, and I'm sure many of you don't. And this is for those taken, if you want to track where I'm getting some of this information and data. I probably subscribe to about 100 different newsletters, and I'm not going to mention them all. But what I would like to say is, oh, and I need to join from the Bab account here, guys. If you want to track where I'm getting some of this information and data, there we go. So, yeah. So, guys, what I'm going to do is jump straight into the. This is Bitcoin's birthday, so we're going to make the first 10 minutes about Bitcoin, and then we're going to open up to the other market milestones of 2024. And really, we're open to tailoring these spaces around you guys. around the kind of information and the support that you need, because this is the key, is that we have strength in numbers. So some interesting Bitcoin facts for today, and I'm going to start off with a couple of funny ones, because I don't know if those of you know this, but the honey badger was actually Bitcoin's unofficial animal mascot. In 2021, the Bitcoin community actually adopted the Bitcoin zebra as the new mascot. Random, I know, but the reason behind this is that the zebra is a symbol of strength, speed, and agility, all of which are qualities that are associated with Bitcoin. The speed, I'm not too sure about, but certainly the strength and the agility. For it to be, nearing on the fifth, this is now the 15th year that we've had Bitcoin around. I'm going to come through some of these interesting facts, and please put your hands up if you would like to join as a speaker. I would love to have more of you up on stage so we can make this more of an open conversation. As Chris is a little bit delayed to the space, I'm looking at you, Mr. Juan. Why don't you get up on stage with me? So the second interesting Bitcoin fact on Bitcoin's 15th birthday is I don't this is actually an interesting one. I remember hearing about this back in 2010. So there was a bug that led to the accidental creation of 184 billion Bitcoin. Of course, for those of you that saw our post today and are aware that there can only ever be a maximum amount of 21 million Bitcoin in circulation, which I'm going to come to in the next fact. And the reason for this, and this is actually why we're coming up to, and why I wanted to mention this, we're coming up to the fourth halving event. And what every 4 years these halving events take place, and what I will be doing is explaining in a little bit more detail what goes on in those halving events. But for Bitcoin to be anti-inflationary, a digital cryptocurrency as it is, this 184 billion Bitcoin that got created through a bug is impossible for for that to happen. So what happened is, about a month later, Satoshi and some other developers fixed the error within about 5 hours. It was fixed, and over the next month, the bug was actually patched. And of course, what happened was those nodes accepted it as an error, and actually forked out and erased the Bitcoin that was obviously added in this accidental creation of Bitcoin. So the next thing, which is actually in our X post today, is that as we mentioned, the maximum amount of Bitcoins in circulation can only ever be 21 million. And this was why I was asking you guys at the start, who holds Bitcoin? Of course, none of our spaces that we host from the Redefy account or from any of our accounts as the team behind the Redefy brand are ever financial advice. But what we understand is that the platform and the community that we work with, of course, some of us invest and trade cryptocurrencies. So the question that I ask you guys there is that there isn't an infinite amount of Bitcoin available, and it's because of this that it is, I believe, one of the leading assets, and will become one of the leading assets in the world. And I believe that we have to watch this space. So on the estimates, and this isn't my estimate, guys, that the last Bitcoin will be mined in 2040. So if you don't have your hands on any Bitcoin by then, you won't be able to get any. So this is an interesting fact that, Alan is requesting, so he wants to jump up on stage. Alan, it's been a little while since I've seen you. Let me add you as a speaker, and just let you get your comms together. And I will be going through a few more of these interesting facts about Bitcoin on its birthday. But of course, I will come to you in a moment. So I know all of you know this, but the smallest unit of Bitcoin, which is, of course, how the gas fees are paid, is called a Satoshi, after the founder itself. And that is equal to, if you could just mute yourself for a moment there, Alan, and that is equal to 0.0000001 Bitcoin. And of course, like we mentioned, that's named after the founder, Satoshi Nakamoto. And he is down. Okay. So let's go into a few more of these facts. Around Bitcoin, I would say fun facts. For those of you that knew this, actually, you could run Ethereum smart contracts on top of Bitcoin for a number of years. But however, you can no longer. So there was actually a project in 2020 called Rootstock. And Ethereum, as it's emerging, is becoming, probably I would say the second leading cryptocurrency and blockchain. But there was a project that was discontinued in 2020, which was called Rootstock, for those of you that remember it. And you could actually run smart contracts. Bedlam's requesting. Let's get Bedlam up here. Here we go. And then, so I would like to go through a few more of these fun facts before we jump into of course, what you are all here for, which is these market milestones of 2024. I know that you guys have probably been reading every single foundation, every single company today is releasing their sort of highlights from 2023 and projections and, shall we say, milestones for 2024. So we, of course, have wanted to do the same and just educating our community into some of the big events of 2024 to watch out for. So there's the next fact that I'm going to go into here is so the downtime that occurred in 2013 was due to a bug called level D in the level DB database, which is used to store the blockchain. The bug was fixed in the network, and that has been running smoothly ever since. So I don't know if you guys remember when the whole network went down in 2013. There has been a few hacks, not just on Bitcoin on Bitcoin's blockchain, but on several blockchains, and of course this is something that they instantly worked out. And yeah, I want to welcome Bedlam to the stage. How are you today? How is your day going for Bitcoin's birthday?
Oh, it's going great. If you guys can't hear me, just give me a thumbs down and I'll stop talking. If if the connection breaks up or anything.
No, I can hear you perfectly.
No, I can hear you perfectly.
I
Oh,
have got a bit of
great.
refurb
I have
now,
got a
but
bit of refurb now, but
let me sort this out.
let me sort this out.
There we go.
It's raining. There we go. It's
Yeah.
raining
So,
right now.
have you?
Yeah. So,
How was your holiday? How was your
how
festive
was your
period?
holiday? How was your festive period? It was good. Yeah, it was good. It's raining right now in California, so everyone here is freaking out a little bit because we're not used to we're used to sunny weather.
Oh, really?
Oh, really?
And whereabouts are you based
And
again?
whereabouts are you based again? Southern California.
Southern California. Thanks for
Southern
joining me,
California.
Bedlam. I
Thanks
think
for joining me,
I
Bedlam.
don't know if you guys remember, but
I don't
Chris
know if you
last
guys
week
remember, but
actually
Chris
went
last week
down.
actually
Went
went
out.
down.
He
Went
It's
out.
very sad news, but he ended up coming across an accident, a traffic accident, and he couldn't rejoin the space. So hopefully nothing bad has happened, and hopefully Chris can join us because, as I said, I really hate hosting spaces when I'm just speaking the whole time, and it's just not enjoyable for anybody. But nonetheless, we're going to crack on with this. And Bedlam, like I said, I think what for you, I mean, no one seemed to react earlier, or maybe just couldn't see it. But do you currently trade cryptocurrencies? What is how's it looking at the start of 2024 for you? Because we did discuss this last year actually about the December effect coming into play and often leading to these kind of mini bull cycles over these festive periods. Potentially around also people having time on their hands, not working all the time. But how is your sort of your journey in the cryptocurrency and DeFi space going currently, if you don't mind me asking?
Well, when I first heard about Bitcoin, I remember I think it was around the time it was created. It was a news article it was on the radio. Someone said someone just created the first digital currency, and the first thing I said to myself is scam, and then I went off to school. And look how wrong I was. I wish I had invested back then. Currently, my portfolio is doing okay. I'm wondering, what do you think about right now? It seems like a lot of meme coins are popping off. What do you think? What does the future hold for these meme coins like Mickey and all these other things
Yeah.
as compared to like Bitcoin?
Just yeah, just while I speak, if you don't mind muting, because yeah, thank you. Just the audio is a little bit bad when we're both speaking. Um, can everybody hear me? Okay, I just got a message from one of our team that the comms might be down. Just a thumbs down if the audio has been a little bit faulty for you guys. But yeah, just coming to that question, Bedlam. Let's crack on. And as I said, if there's any audio issue, guys, please let me know and send me a little message or put a little thumbs down, and I'll try and address it straight away. So, interestingly enough, Bedlam is a kind of similar story for me. Not that I didn't believe in cryptocurrencies. I wasn't aware what was going on at the time. I was a fresher in 2007 at university, which just means my first year at university was in 2007. And then what happened was, this is so weird because I inadvertently started buying cryptocurrency through or Bitcoin through a Tor Onion browser at the time that I was using, and of course, going on the elusive dark web, nothing crazy or anything like that, guys. But what we were doing is obviously, going onto different servers that aren't the World Wide Web, and what I realized is that and this is actually one of the fun facts that I'm bringing about Silk Road and different platforms like that, is that this is what spurred on and accelerated the need for digital currencies and cryptocurrencies, as we should call them. And it's funny you said this, because if I'd realized then the magnitude of what Bitcoin was going to become, I certainly would have done things differently. And let's just say, I think I discussed this with a few guys on a previous space, but let's just say I miss out on a lot of money. And I think not as much as Laszlo Haniek. I always get his name wrong. Haniek, the guy, the Bitcoin pizza guy. For those of you that know, I believe it was May 22nd, 2000. And let me get the exact date here. This guy, Laszlo, he spent $10,000 on Bitcoin. I think it was 2010. Yeah, so May 22nd, 2010. Please correct me if anyone is in the space and knows about this story. This is what today is, I believe, the kind of the biggest holiday for Bitcoin, including today, obviously, the anniversary of the Genesis block, but Bitcoin Pizza Day on the 22nd of May is what is probably the biggest day in the calendar year for Bitcoin. Bitcoin always pumps on that day, guys. So if you missed the pump today, I was in well before the pump today, but if please make sure you look into potentially big dates in the calendar for Bitcoin. And this isn't financial advice, guys. But and finally, Chris is joining us, right? So this isn't financial advice for anybody. But what you start to realize is that this is why they call it the Halloween effect or the October effect. This is why they call it the Santa Claus rally or the December effect. It's there's times of year that you can track these financial markets. And should I say, let's get Chris in as speaker. Yeah, there's times of year that you can track these financial, I would say, booms that might not necessarily be bull runs, but they are. You can play, shorter trades and stuff around those days. And of course, like I mentioned, none of this is financial advice or investment advice. Ironically, Bedlam, I'd like to come back to you before we welcome Chris, one of the team members at Redefy. He's our technical copywriter. There was a guy called Milton Friedman. I was looking at a video earlier, and I always heard about this guy, but I never really listened much, because at the end of the day, it says that he predicts Bitcoin. No, he didn't. He didn't predict Bitcoin. People like David Schaum that were writing some of the very first smart contracts and established platforms like DigiCash and established eCash, and your Nick Szabos, your Vi Dais. They were predicting Bitcoin long before Milton Friedman. But there's actually a YouTube, shall I say, not Bitcoin, digital currencies long before Milton did. But Milton Friedman was an economist in the US. And in 1999, he came out with a video and said, interestingly, I wanted to try and play it for you guys. But for those of you that are on YouTube now, check it out. So type in Milton Friedman predicts Bitcoin in 1999. And this was really even before what I would call the dot-com boom or the dot-com bubble, obviously, that ended up bursting. But there was a time within the internet as it started to get legs. And bear in mind, that didn't happen overnight either. And he predicted that digital currencies would be the future. And of course, how right was Milton? But of course, there was other cryptographers of the day that were also talking about, digital currencies taking over in the future. And at the end of the day, when you think about it, technology and the advancements that technology is giving us, within a race of mankind, we're always going to move towards the digitalization, shall we say, of our worlds. So, Chris, how are you? Sorry, did you get a bit delayed? No. Thank you for joining us, Chris. How's your evening going?
Hey everyone! A happy New Year for everyone. I hope you have a lot of success. A lot of love. Like everything is important, and most importantly, be good in your health. I'm pretty good. Yeah, sorry for being late. Like I was alone with the baby, so I had
Oh,
to. Yeah, I had to take care till my wife came back finally. So yeah, how's everyone? Like, what's the conversation today? Is about the upcoming trends. Like, what are we
yes.
waiting for?
We are jumping into
Oh,
that.
okay.
I thought I would kill some time and talk about some fun facts surrounding Bitcoin, as of course it is Bitcoin's 15th birthday. So, really, we've just been talking. We've got Bedlam on stage as well. He was joining us just about, I think, what, and I know you've been in the industry for a while, but we were discussing how I think almost what happens in the media is people say one thing and then another thing happens. So, one example that I'll use, which I was discussing with one of our token specialists today, he we were discussing Jamie Dimon, who of course is the BlackRock CEO, not BlackRock, sorry, JP Morgan Chase CEO. And for the since 2015, I don't know if you guys knew this, but JP Morgan and other asset managers have indirectly been investing in multitude of cryptocurrencies. But on the surface and in the media, what are they doing? They're slandering it. They're saying, no, digital currencies aren't the future. Because, of course, who will benefit from saying that cryptocurrency isn't the future and then buying it when it's low? Of course, these individuals. So there was an interesting reel that I saw on Instagram that was actually an interview with Jamie Dimon, and this would have been back in 2015. And he goes out there and says that he even told his staff that work at JP Morgan that if they're buying Bitcoin, they will get fired. And then you know that he was bullish on this the whole time. So obviously the people that created these reels, some of these crypto influencers are saying, this isn't illegal by any means, but at the same time, it's interesting that you have, I would say high ranking CEOs that are saying kind of look one way while they're doing something completely different. So this is what I would like to say to individuals that do believe in this space, that do believe in the digital future and the future of digital currencies, is that you may not always got the information that you need from sort of, I would say, more mainstream forms of media and mainstream channels of media, and sometimes you do have to do your own research, and of course always do your due diligence when trading and investing in anything and any asset whatsoever. But this is something that I find interesting, is that it's kind of one of these scenarios where it's look one way and we're actually doing another. And for those of you that do track, just like Bedlam said, I think the rise, I would say, of meme coins, my advice is be very careful when investing in very volatile assets like meme coins, especially ones that that are inflationary and that don't have a burn mechanism. And another thing as well is that the rise of, I think Michael was discussing it with us last week, but the rise of the tokenization of real world assets. You have now organizations like Brillion, platforms where you can go in, and dApps where you can go in and trade against tokenization of real world assets. And there was a recent study that came out that said that the tokenization of RWAs, which we'll probably speak about in these market milestones, and thank God Chris is here, because obviously I have my knowledge from a more consumer background. Chris has been writing about, as a copywriter, as a technical copywriter, writing, I would say, I mean, how many articles have you written just even for Redify? I'd say in the hundreds. So Chris and I work very closely together for the Redify social media and marketing campaigns, and some of the articles, and like as I mentioned, the depth of knowledge he has. So I think what you have to understand is that the mainstream forums that or the mainstream media that you listen to won't always cover the certain aspects which we're going to talk about now. And in actual fact, digital currencies are the future, I believe, of mankind. And Chris, actually, do you want to just talk quickly about sort of the digitalization, shall we say, or the tokenization
Yeah,
of the
I mean, to be honest, like I want to like point something like on the previous thing you were saying about yeah, JP Morgan and all that stuff. Like you have, like we all have to understand, like it's kind of a game as well, right? Like big players, like it's gonna do whatever is needed. Like they have inside info, or they can pump the market whenever they want, right? So, so what's the narrative? Like I think as we step in later years, like after the halving, and like I think the most important thing is, if you're in the space, you're in the tech, or make money, whatever. Like, what's the next narrative? I think that's a question a lot of people like need to ask themselves. What's the next narrative? Like last cycle was DeFi or DAOs, whatever you want to name it. It was the rise. But what's the next narrative after that? Like it's going to be new projects. Like right now, it's a lot of L2s. Interoperability. Like whatever is solving with parachain bridges, oracles, stake connectors, all that stuff. There is a lot of things coming. So I like to always ask myself when I'm researching. What is the next play here? Do you have do you actually have a play? Like, do you have something that you're taking a closer look, or searching, or farming for airdrops, whatever that is?
Yeah, I couldn't. Oh, do you want to jump in there, Bedlam? Because I think you had something to say.
Well, I think the thing I'm focusing on is regulated companies like BAB and Redefy. Um, that's what I'm focusing on right now, and I think that's the next play because it seems like there's a lot of money that's waiting in the wings for these regulated companies because they're kind of I have a feeling that a lot of these companies are afraid to get into the space because it is kind of crazy when you look at meme coins like all these meme coins that are just pumping like crazy.
Yeah, exactly. Like I couldn't agree more, Bedlam, and that's exactly why when I was given the opportunity to join the team, it's really about finding projects that are going to bring value and sustainable ecosystems that are going to change and shape the future of this space. And I know Chris is obviously in agreement with me there. So I think like let's take that as a note and move into these milestones because for me, I think the main thing is that we can have these spaces consistently. And of course, for the wider community, what we want to do is, not just focus, on what we're doing at Redefine Bab and growing our ecosystems, but making these more of a general space for people to come discuss the market, discuss, key events of the year that, of course, will affect everything. And ironically enough, this task that we have ahead of us at Redefine World and Bab, of course, is that we are trying to attach to traditional financial markets, but do it in a decentralized way. And this is really the task at hand because what we're seeing is that and many of you that are following our content will see that it's a drop in the ocean. The decentralized financial industry is less than 0.4% of the global traditional financial markets. I feel like I've probably said that on almost every space we've hosted. So when you look at the difference, the vast landscape in front of us in terms of the financial markets, we have to look at longevity. We have to look at sustainability, and we also have to offer a service which will benefit the consumer, guys, because this is really where we come from. Is that we're often looked down upon. We're often the ones that lose the capital at play as the individual investor. And just something that I would like to mention on this side is that I'm from Scotland originally, but my friends actually shared with me recently an email they got from Bank of Scotland, from Halifax Bank, not talking negatively about any traditional financial markets, but or institutions, sorry. But there's now a new law that they've sent everybody emails and letters that if they need to access your funds or limit the funds that you have access to in any way, they can do so. And this is what I'm saying is that the financial markets have always been there, never necessarily to benefit us. So when you find financial products like Bab, and for those of you that haven't navigated the Bab app, please go check it out. Download it in the App Store. It really is an incredible way. We've got an exchange there where you can buy listed and wrapped tokens from Bitcoin, Ethereum. You can also buy currencies there. So what we want to do is create the financial freedom for the consumer, and really what's behind Redefy as well is also creating a blockchain that people and individuals and builders and developers and creators can come in and actually have access to and benefit from. So we have another request. Israel, happy to have you on stage. Let me add you now. And Chris, do you want to jump in? Because of course, what I would love to do is cover some of the key topics. I realize we're halfway through the space now. Cover some of the key topics at the very start, and really let's just quickly touch over the
Yeah,
Bitcoin halving, which is
I mean,
happening.
I mean, I think we discussed this the previous time, so maybe we can like pick a favorite or something, and then we can have like a discussion to like be more freely. I don't know,
Yeah, yeah,
because like me talking about like certain stuff that nobody cares.
yeah.
I don't don't think it's optimal. But yeah, whatever you want. Like I know we discussed BTC halving before, like last like 2 weeks ago, right?
We did, yeah.
Uh, what it means, like the narrative, or when we can see an upside. And historically speaking, because I'm aware that most of the people listening, like, they know what it is. Uh, the markets are not pumping straight away. Like, so that's what I'm waiting for, to see if the cycle is going to repeat itself again after April. Like, you needed like at least a few months till we see an actual, let's say, movement. But that might not be the case this time with the ETF. That's why I'm having I'm having a lot of trends, because like if the ETF is approved before, or at the time of the halving, right? It might create like the actual bull run we're actually waiting for. So that's quite interesting to watch out for. So ETF, and then in correlation with the BTC halving, what is going to happen?
Yes, I think you're absolutely right. So just to quickly skim over that, the fourth halving event is likely expected in April, and it is going to be at block number 740,000. And like I said, we did talk about this in the last space. So for those of you that want to catch the full breakdown of the halving and what that will affect, how that will affect the markets, please do. And of course, looking forward, the fifth halving will be happening in 2028. And something that we would like to just mention to you guys is that usually these halving events, of course, we mentioned it creates a lot of volatility in the markets, but normally they do trigger these bull runs. And as I said, when you look at the correlation between Bitcoin and all the other cryptocurrencies out there, and these 4-year cycles, as I like to call them, you can find the correlation, and you can find a way to track these financial markets, because I'm telling you guys, and for those of you that are trading cryptocurrencies, you cannot just buy and hope and hold. It's never going to work. You need to make sure if you are, as I said, and this is not financial advice by any means, and I have to keep saying this, guys, because of course the I would say the regulation around trading these assets, but you can find a way in the market. So let's jump straight into it. Let's jump straight into exchange traded funds, because as I said, we're eagerly anticipating these to be greenlit. And before you joined, Chris, I did discuss this very briefly. I read an article and I just about cried. But what do you think are the chances that these Bitcoin and Ethereum, of course, ETFs, are greenlit this month? I mean, in your experience and all.
I mean, I don't think it's going to be this month.
No.
I don't know why, but I got a feeling like the recent pullback, there was a lot of fuss around the SEC, like rejecting again the ETF, the Bitcoin ETF. So I'm not sure. I think that's why it was a pullback as well. I'm not like 100% sure, but I was watching and saying it was quite weird the way it happened, because we had like a big pump, and then almost like 9% in a day. So I'm not sure. I'm not saying, like, I think I can safely say that BTC is one of those corrective patterns right now, and it takes the whole market obviously along with it, and the ATF delay obviously affected that. But yeah, I don't know. I'm assuming it's gonna be Q2 or probably late Q1 of this year, but I might be wrong. Like, it depends on a lot of things that I'm not aware of.
Yeah, and do you Bedlam, or do you Israel? Welcome to the stage, and thank you for joining us. Do you guys have any comments on when you think that these ETFs will be approved? That's okay. We'll move straight on. So for those of you that did miss our space 2 weeks ago, ETFs are exchange traded funds, and essentially what it will allow is it will allow global asset managers, the likes of BlackRock, J.P. Morgan, Vanguard, and the trillions that they have under management. It'll allow that to pour into the crypto and digital asset markets. And really, when you think about that alone, we're talking about an amount of money that isn't even available. Like, for example, this 21 million Bitcoin in circulation, we do not, there isn't a capacity to, when you really think about it, to actually funnel all that money into. But just for those of you that are already in trading and investing in cryptocurrencies, just be aware that the year on year fees is around about 20%. You could probably correct me here, Chris, but if you're buying these exchange traded funds, of course, for your average, shall we call them, average Joe Blogs investors or mom and pop investors, as Chris likes to say, it will allow them to invest. But as a glober, I would always look to doing this yourself, because why are you going to get a fund manager to then come in and buy your cryptocurrencies and
Yeah,
pay 20%
yeah. I
a
mean,
year?
you're right. Like, personally, I wouldn't use it. Don't get me wrong, but I don't like other people handling my money. So I think while it's bullish for people that they're not associated with cryptocurrencies and the whole space, like me personally, I'll never use it. It's I don't know. It's like an ethos or like my mindset, but I could never trust someone else. Like because essentially, like the ETFs are created by purchasing like future contracts, right? Like from the specific group of I don't know, institutions, whoever's gonna roll them out, and they're all bundling them, into I don't know, like a fund or something. I don't know how it's called exactly. And then they offer this fund to investors, like who can buy it on an exchange. It's not a cryptocurrency exchange, of course, right? Like it's a normal exchange. So yeah, and then the future contracts in the fund, then they manage it themselves. So while it's bullish, right, for mass adoption, maybe that's what the space needs. For as you said, like the mom and pop investor to pop in. Like I don't think I would use it personally. I don't know. What about you, James?
No, never, never. Like I think it's kind of like the reason why I got involved in this space actually is to manage my own funds, and not have to use these asset kind of managers. But of course, in terms of corporate investments, there's no doubt that it will be a very positive, very positive for the market as a whole. And it's interesting because I'm on a Defiant article here, and I sometimes like using the Defiant for certain articles around this. And even this is dated back to August of last year. If you really think about how long we've actually been in the process of applying for these ETFs, and back then there were 7 notable asset managers from Bitwise, Grayscale, VanEck, Roundhill, ProShares, that had already were some of the first to apply for these ETFs, and they were actually applying way back, and I believe some of them at the very start of the year, the end of 2022 even, and I could be wrong slightly with my dates there, but I
Yeah, I
also
think the first was 2021, if I'm not
was it
wrong.
2021, right? Yeah, so even earlier.
Yeah, I think October 2021. I'm not sure, but yeah, no, I agree with you. Like it's definitely like a the people can understand them better. Like if you're an investor, right? Like you're probably like a normal investor, a stock in like stocks, whatever. You'll better understand the ETF than cryptocurrencies, decentralized exchanges or a ledger, or how you store your keys, and mining, and what is all about. Like I think that's why it's a good thing, because most of the traders globally understand ETFs, and they do not understand cryptocurrencies that much. Plus, the most important thing, I think it's security reasons. Like scams. A lot of people got scammed with Bitcoin throughout the years. So yeah, that's why I think it's a good thing.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I think that is the hard thing to accept about this space, is that it can harbor people that aren't necessarily out to do good, and this is why, of course, regulation is necessary. I remember some of the conversations we had on previous spaces is that this regulation is something that is needed, but I think obviously transparency within these regulators, to help us really, individuals, corporate investors, navigate the space, because I think at the end of the day, all we need is to know the kind of, I would say, rule book, because then of course we can then make decisions, and of course ensure that the safe, making sure that these transactions are safe, secure, and obviously preventing these kind of scams going ahead, which is really sad to hear, because as we mentioned, around these times of year, there is a huge amount, or I would say acceleration into these amount of people that are investing and trading currencies and digital currencies. But of course, what happens around those peak moments, is that of course these scams also increase. So it is a very, very difficult, and really you don't have to be, even crypto natives can be scammed. And I'm going to use an example from earlier in the year when Vitalik Buterin himself had 2 of his CryptoPunks stolen, outside of his, through a MetaMask drain. It was basically, there's a bug going around that people can send you. They can essentially send it through an airdrop, and what can happen is they can say you're receiving a free airdrop. You get the token, or you get sometimes an NFT, and then as soon as that hits your wallet, it can drain everything you have. And he actually got drained from one of his MetaMask wallets. So this stuff is this is why this space, pardon me, is so is very, very difficult to navigate for individuals. And of course, what we want is a safe environment for everybody, because let's be honest, this is what we do. Like we work hard for the money that we earn, so we need to make sure that it's in a safe investment. So coming to these ETFs, then, so you really do think, ironically enough, I was so positive today at the start of the week, Chris, thinking that these ETFs would be, greenlit, just after Bitcoin's 15th birthday. But I suppose we will find. So, guys, we've got about 15 minutes left of the space. We're going to go through a couple of more of these milestones and trends. For those of you that haven't accessed the document, it is actually pinned on our Twitter page currently, on the Redify Twitter page, or shall I say X page. And go into the article, check the medium. Chris actually wrote the article himself, so we have the author of this of these market milestones, adapted from the trends that we were obviously discussing on the previous space 2 weeks ago. And what we would like to hear is which ones you want us to delve into, because obviously, time permitting, we can maybe touch some of these, and whatever we don't touch over, we can delve into a little bit deeper next week. So, yeah, let's go into this, because I think one that I would like to discuss. I don't know about you, Chris, but would you mind if we go through number 6 on your list, and that's actually AI trading? Do you want to go into that? Because I think I've been reading a lot about how AI is going to reshape the future of finance.
Yeah, I mean that's to be honest, like you pick my favorite because I'm already
Nice.
associated with someone that develops like he's developing like a bot that actually pulls the API and some data from successful traders. Either it's from centralized exchanges or decentralized. Now he's doing like from where was it? Gains Network, I think. I'm not sure. Yeah, against network. So he's pulling data from trades from successful traders, and then he developed a bot like using AI to actually perform those trades based on their trades, obviously. And so far, like he's quite there. Like, but the problem with cryptocurrencies is that it is so volatile, right? Like it's so hard to implement something that is actually valuable as well. But I think that's going to change, as we progress with AI and, like all the regulations around it. Like I've been hearing a lot of things lately. I think AI and crypto, like, is going to be, something to look out for sure. Not as a trend, but uh, as a powerful tool to actually, I don't know if you're a trader or an investor, like to actually find information or like develop your bot or join a project that is doing that for you by investing in them and all that stuff. But I think it's something that it's going to change the space as a whole. So I, and it's my favorite because I really believe it's a narrative that is coming, and that's why I'm keeping an eye on.
Yeah, I really, I couldn't agree with you more, Chris. I think they're in some ways almost a match made in heaven, because when you look at the some of the issues that not just blockchain technology, but also layer twos, bridges, APIs can come across, some of the issues that can happen, and you look at the way that AI can then complement those issues in terms of advanced problem solving skills, and being able to verify users rapidly over a very short period of time. There's so many, I would say, automated, even like the automation of smart contracts. I think that as a whole, they're really the perfect match. And as we see this sort of AI boom, shall we say, over this last year, and bear in mind, AI technology has been around for a long time. I would say, I mean, longer than we imagined, because obviously, a lot of us just date back to Chat GPT, as the rise. But I think, do you actually, Chris? This is an interesting one for me. I was doing a little bit of deep diving into some rabbit holes around AI and its advancements, but the two different forms of AI. And obviously we only have access to the front facing form, through ChatGPT, through generator apps and platforms. But the actual ecosystem of AI is been rapidly evolving, since, I believe, I think, for the last 7 or 8 years now. So do you have a little bit more of insight of how quickly AI has, over the last year, been accelerating, and how that can then in turn complement blockchain in just maybe one or two key areas that you've been doing your research?
Yeah, so I don't know. I haven't been like I haven't researched like about AI for. I only researched it like once ChatGPT came around, so that's how I got involved. But yeah, in my opinion, like there is a lot of stuff happening, and I'm also helping as an advisor for another project. Um, it's using essentially, it's like an AI model, right? Like, but they're using cybernetics in the core. And what this means is, the system pulls data, pulls, I don't know, essentially it gets trained through various, I don't know, interactions between people, the validators on the network. I don't know what is right, what is wrong. There's a complex model, to be honest, like, which I don't understand fully. But nevertheless, right, like, this system gets the amount of data, right, like ChatGPT, right, like ChatGPT, was just the beginning, like, but it needs a lot of data for training in order to perform. It's the same concept, but imagine it in a blockchain. For example, how decisions have been made now. Like, you get a proposal, you get the validators, the stakers, go there, vote for that, and then, depending the majority, like, the vote passes, blah blah blah, and it gets implemented. This model essentially takes that data, like, from previous ones, because it cannot happen instantly. Obviously, it needs time. It's Imagine it like a constant loop, like a feedback loop, and then it goes back around, and then after a while, when it has a lot of data, it can do it by itself. So you don't even need human interaction, making, like, decentralization more and more open, and actually it's decentralized. It will be, if we go there. But yeah, like, it's a big vast world, to be honest. Like, and the AI concept, and blockchain and cryptocurrencies, like, it's something to look out for, and I am excited about it. But yeah, like, that's something that I wanted to share.
Yeah, thanks for that, Chris. And I think, like you said, that's why I love, having these spaces with a few of us. It just makes you look. And going into these, I think sometimes it's referred to as narrow AI, which is what we have access to, and broad AI. But as an example, there's the kind of main types that we use, or we have access to, are variational auto encoders, or VAEs, and generative adversarial networks, or they're called GANs. And these are the kind of narrow forms within AI. So when you actually look at these, which obviously through the industry, which was called IoT, or the Internet of Things, these vast, super brains. I think, like, we've all seen Hollywood movies referring to this, but the funny thing that I've just realized now is that AI has actually been a concept since the 1950s. So if you look at I think it more on the AI side as well. It's about the technology coming to a place where it's ready, and I think when you
Yeah.
combine that with blockchain and this fifth generation of blockchain that we're in, it's really
It's
interesting.
so interesting because, like, let me give you the example that you can Google yourself as well. But for the people that don't know, like, imagine a thermostat, right? How a thermostat is working. If you
Yeah.
think about it, it's based on entering, like, a desired temperature value and comparing this set point with the current temperature, right? And then the actual value, like, the system constantly checks whether the set point has now been reached. If that if the temperature is reached, like, if it's a yes, the power of the heating is minimized. If not, it continues to run, and so on. Like, that's what it means, essentially. That's the most example that you can find and read it yourself. But imagine a thermostat, how a thermostat works, and apply that principles to the cybernetic systems and the AI trading and whatever that is. That's why it's so, it's a bit advanced, to be honest, but it's something definitely that is going to change the current models, all the protocols, essentially, probably, or something like that. But it's definitely something to look out for.
Yeah, I love that. And before we go too deep down the AI rabbit hole, I love that we can potentially, as we move forward on these spaces, have topics that we can discuss. And one that I want to come to, which is actually number 8 on our list of market trends, or market milestones to watch out for, which is layer twos. Of course, scaling solutions, as a lot of layer two scaling solutions, which allow interoperability between layer one blockchains, and allow to basically speed up these, and scale these solutions. So what I would love to do is actually, and this is perfect timing, because obviously, of course, we would like to talk about what we're developing with BAB, within the BAB app, as a decentralized exchange that will allow you to of course, trade your currencies, trade your fiat currencies, through, for example, GBPX, USDX, and also come into trade different digital currencies through the app. So what I would like to say, Chris, is how big, in terms of these layer twos, how big a part do you think they will have to play into coming into this bull run? And really, I was so shaping the future of cryptocurrencies when you think about it as a whole.
I mean, there's so many. Like, I'm not gonna lie. Like, even I don't know them all. I recently heard about a new one, for example. But it's it's essentially like an upgrade. Like, if you think about it, like any layer two, like it's complementing the the main blockchain. So I don't know, it's a zk rollup, like it's an optimistic rollup. I don't know, the plasma, whatever, the parachain, whatever, layer zero. It's all an upgrade that is constantly evolving. So the narrative on that, in the future is, it's depending obviously on the main chain, right? Like how successful that is, and what's a use case for the for the average user. But overall, I think it's definitely something to research. Like, there's a lot of protocols coming up. There's a lot of airdrops. Like, there's so many stuff to look out for. Like, a lot of projects innovating as well, like bringing new stuff. Like Eclipse. I'm not sure if I pronounce that correctly. There's so much to look out for. Like, essentially, even myself, I'm lost. I have like 20 wallets farming airdrops right now, and like, I don't know what I'm doing anymore. I'm just like go staking, running nodes, being a validator, vote on proposals, whatever, like testing the network, provide feedback. And now I'm at a point that I'm like, okay, I'm gonna stop because that's not good for me. But yeah, I think it's definitely something to look out for. I'm excited because the because of the opportunity to find early gems. That's what I'm gonna say.
Yeah, yeah. I'm sometimes you can be overwhelmed in this space, let alone all of the emerging altcoins and meme coins, but actual use cases and layer twos that are actually dealing with this what's known as the blockchain trilemma. So for those of you that don't know, the blockchain trilemma is decentralization, security, and scalability. And what these L2s allow is they allow for these transactions to work, not just more of them, but also quicker, faster, and also allowing them to be interoperable between other chains, para chains, side chains, and we could go even deeper into this. But of course, guys, time permitting,
Yeah,
what we
I'm gonna say something last, just so, because I don't mention it in my articles. I usually keep those opinions for for myself. But um, what I think is, like, because you said a trilemma, right? I don't think anyone can solve it. To be honest, with the current landscape and how things are, no L2 can solve it. Like, whatever it is, right? Like, there would always be, and most likely, the for L2s, for example, is going to be decentralization. Like, nobody can solve it, no matter how good the network is, how fast, how secure. It can be decentralized for that to happen, and that's why I wanted to come back in the AI thing. That, one of the ways that I know of, at the very least, is this I was talking about earlier, about the feedback loops, about the AI, about the cybernetic stuff. You can go ahead and research about it. That's why I think it's gonna play the biggest narrative out there, even from L2s and whatever. Like, yeah, there's a lot of good protocols coming up, but nobody can solve it. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, actually. And it's interesting, actually, coming to what you said there about farming airdrops. And I hope that maybe there is some people in here, and please, like, bear in mind, whatever you're doing, navigating new areas of the market and new opportunities, always be careful in everything you're doing. And I was actually, it's funny, when I was going through some of these fun facts, it reminded me of what's known as the Bitcoin faucets. I don't know if you ever remember these faucets, but Bitcoin faucets, essentially what they were doing is similar to airdrops. Before probably the rise of airdrops, they were allowing you to, and this is crazy, some of the very first Bitcoin faucet was giving away 5 Bitcoin, because you can imagine the price of Bitcoin at the time. they were giving away 5 Bitcoin to people. And just to explain it really easily is you'll go into an ecosystem, you'll do a few sort of key things for them. So it could be you're basically rewarded with small amounts by performing simple tasks. So these Bitcoin faucets, ironically, there is cryptocurrency faucets still out there. So for those of you that maybe after this space you want to go out there and look at like different opportunities within the space, I think every time I speak to Chris, it's interesting. We'll talk about trading futures, derivatives. Like there's such a vast I would say, landscape of things that are really quite scary. I think the last time we spoke actually at the live event, we were talking about, futures trading on like derivatives for cryptocurrency. And are you still tapping away in that field as well, or?
Oh, me?
Yeah.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
It's not getting crazy. I was overwhelmed with the Solana meme season. So don't get me wrong. I jumped there a little bit.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I did as well, a little bit. I think it's interesting because the what was it, the Solana phone that they released, and how that kind of became I think it sold out within a couple of weeks or something. Was that right?
Which one? Which one?
The Solana phone that they released, like the mobile.
Oh, the mobile. Okay.
Yeah,
Uh,
because you could actually trade directly from the phone. But yeah, guys, so this has been a really great space, and thank you, Chris, for joining us. What I wanted to do was just finish with some interesting Bitcoin facts. After all, it is Bitcoin's 15th birthday, and I want you guys to stay safe out there. I hope you've all had an amazing new year. Recharging coming into 2024. All guns blazing. No jokes aside, just with a fresh start into the what we're probably looking at as the next, I would say, so we say positive cycle for the space. And I think what we need to be doing is having these spaces every week to really talk about it. And like I said, guys, we've got some of our Babians in the house, some of our brand ambassadors, some of our community, our shareholders. We love having these discussions, but what we really hope is that more of you will join us in the future, just to make these spaces more interactive and more engaging, because really they're designed for you guys in mind, to just help you navigate this space better. And you know what, interesting for me, I suppose, probably from a personal side, I've always been a little bit anti-establishment. I've always decided to not find my own way in this space, and there was just two really interesting facts that I found on Coin Mama. For those of you that want to check it out, some interesting Bitcoin facts on Bitcoin's birthday. But actually, for those of you that remember WikiLeaks, Julian Assange, he actually was able to circumvent the banking blockade that was imposed on him, and it was actually thanks to this banking blockade back in 2011 that made Julian Assange one of the biggest investors in Bitcoin at the time. And this is how actually WikiLeaks kept going, and I believe is still going today. Was down to the fact that they invested in Bitcoin. I actually have a X post here from them, that they in 2010, bear in mind, were holding upwards of 5,000 different Bitcoins. How their wallet's doing today, I'm not too sure, but it's interesting when you look at the correlation between freedom within the media, freedom within the financial sector, and obviously freedom within our lives as individuals, is that sometimes risks do have to be taken. And before I go too political on this, I just would like to send out a lot of love to you guys. I always like hosting these spaces with you and sharing, especially to you. Thank you, Chris, and especially having a young baby. It's not easy. My sisters both have kids. I have two nephews, and it's always difficult. Are you still at the no sleep stage at the very start of of raising her?
oh, the very start was pretty fine. Like she was sleeping for 10 hours straight. Now it's a bit different, but it's not that bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was seeing some comments. Like, I just want to say something to people, because like I think people expecting us to talk about Bab and Redify, which I can I can relate a lot. But the thing is, like, it's those spaces are not an actual AMA, guys. It's more of a casual conversation. We can all jump in, like discuss certain things. I know a lot of people have a lot of questions, but for those questions, you need Rust, for example, and if we do an AMA, like there will be a notification much sooner, of course, like so everyone can be aware, bring their questions, and we won't go into any kind of other discussion. It will be directly about Bab and Redify. Just an FYI, because I was reading some comments from the community that attended.
Yeah, okay. Well, like I hadn't seen the comments. I just having to juggle everything. But yeah, so just as Chris said, we have two types of spaces that we run. What the ones that have AMA in them are all about, just answering questions about the community. We've got some exciting things in store for you guys. We're going through our mainnet launch. We're having a private sale, our public sale. Everything is going ahead, full steam ahead for 2024. But what we want to do is have more of an open discussion, just around the markets, the wider markets as a whole, because these spaces are kind of forming and evolving as we go. So guys, we're open to all of your feedback. I've requested to some of our brand ambassadors, if anyone wants to co-host with me in the future. Really what we want to do is remain consistent, host these every Wednesday as we go. And then what we will do is, of course, as these huge updates within our ecosystem, come and transpire, we'll be giving you guys, the words on the ground as it comes in. So, yeah, for those of you that maybe did want to hear, more about that, please do reach out to us in the Discord group. Reach out to myself. On X, I will answer your questions directly. And of course, more importantly, you guys are always welcome to come up as a speaker and to ask those questions directly to myself on these spaces, even if they're not directly, even if it's not an AMA. So never feel like you cannot discuss that. We're simply, we're simply establishing a brand within the space, and the last thing that anybody wants is, just a fanfare around. Us. So yeah, really some exciting announcements to come. Actually, guys, keep your eyes peeled for our posts. This week and Friday, we're going to be making announcements about our growing team. We're going to be making announcements about going into the testnet phase of our ReDeFi blockchain. And as we go into the mainnet launch, which I can't give you the specific date right now, unfortunately, I'm not. I just can't. I can't be at liberty to tell you just yet, but in the next couple of days, we'll be announcing this. And this is where I'm glad you mentioned this, Chris. I was going to end with this part of our space, is that we're attending Web Summit Qatar. We've mentioned this on every single space since Web Summit in Lisbon. We're attending Web Summit in Qatar. We would love to see you guys out there. For those of you that are attending, maybe with your as an individual or with your organizations, please reach out. And I will mention to you guys that the next event that we're hosting will be out in that part of the country. I'm going to leave it hanging on that because for those of you that did attend the first Crypto Wharf event, we'll be running a very similar event. It won't be called Crypto Wharf, but we'll be running this event in the Middle East. So I hope for some of you that are based out there, you can make it. And for those of you that are based elsewhere in the world, please definitely consider it, because Web Summit Qatar is definitely an event on the calendar. And I just want to finish on this. Happy birthday to Bitcoin. I hope you all have the best start to the year. Final note, for those of you that want to go out and create your financial futures, is that there has been, since the activation and since the launch of Bitcoin back on this day in 2009, 70 different forks of Bitcoin. So maybe we can talk about those 70 different forks. I know a few of you probably know some of them. You've got your Litecoin, you've got other BSV, but there's 70 other forks of Bitcoin. So for those of you that weren't aware of that, go out there, enjoy what's going on in the current markets, and have a great start to the year, guys. Sending love. Take care.